Welcome to Bon MOTS, where we'll be applying the Manzer or Mosi Thurlow skill of quantitative analysis of pop culture narrative through a binary system.
This podcast contains spoilers, mature content, and language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, and welcome back to Bon MOTS. It's our April comedy month, and today we are continuing with the recent comedy, which I think is highly underrated, The Nice Guys. So we're going to start off with our funny logline from Scott.
Well, I've got LA Comedy Central.
And I'm also going to introduce everybody, which I always forget to do. So I am Steve-O, of course, and I'm here with Rich.
What's up?
Scott.
Of course is my line, but how's it going, everyone?
And Chris.
Well, hi, I'm.
Sorry about that. As always, as I always am every time. And I'm going to give this summary for The Nice Guys here. This is basically a detective movie starring Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe about trying to solve a porno murder. And
that's a funny way to describe it.
Experimental movie.
A series of porno murders. I'm sorry. Yes, a porno experimental movies.
Okay.
And it just kind of follows these two bumbling PI types as they try to get to the bottom of this pretty large conspiracy. I don't think I need to go into it too much more than that.
No, that's pretty much the framework.
Yeah. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris to go over the intro.
Okay, basically what sets everything off is a porn star being killed.
Poor young lady.
Yeah, poor young lady.
Porn young lady, yes.
Yeah. Her car goes down the hill and goes to this kid's house after he had just stole a magazine from his dad.
To be fair, the child does not own the house.
Yeah, the child does not own the house. Anyway, he discovers her in a very sweet
Well, hold on, just real quickly, if we're pointing out details, he was looking at a picture of the same porn star who crashes in...
Misty Mountains
yes.
is her name. Let's not forget her name.
Misty Mountains.
Always remember.
And it was sweet. She's there, and topless and so forth, and he takes off his pajama top and covers her, which was very sweet. Anyway, we get this introduction from Russell Crowe. He plays this bruiser for hire. Like he doesn't.
He's his hired muscle, really.
Yeah. And we're introduced to him, and that basically he goes to people, beats them up, punches them in the face with the brass knuckles. Then we're introduced to a shitty alcoholic private detective, played by Ryan Gosling, and he is a drunk. He smokes a lot. Has potential as a private eye, but does not really. And then there's just a series of events that lead the two of them together.
Well, they stumble upon...
Yeah, I mean, they, and Ryan Gosling tries to break into a bar to get to, they're looking for this woman. Sorry. They're looking for this girl, Amanda. Amelia. Sorry.
Don't feel bad. I thought her name was Amanda too.
Yeah, there's just so many little details. I'm trying to keep it short like we are, but there's just like
a lot of ins, a lot of outs.
There's a lot of little pebbles. Yeah, so I think it'd be better just to basically the introduction ends when they get together at a bowling alley
for Holly's birthday.
Ryan Gosling's daughter's birthday. So I just figure we're going to discuss it in the details because honestly, there is just so many little things that go into this movie. I mean, to the movie's credit, we were talking about like with Dude, Where's My Car? They had all these little things. This thing, there's so many more little Easter eggs, little seeds planted throughout the beginning, and it's just kind of hard to.
Well, I would say that I liked Dude, Where's My Car? But I think that The Nice Guys builds on its self-referential jokes so much better. And
well, it's not quite the same genre.
Well, yeah, it's not. But there are self-referential jokes in both of those movies.
Sure.
Right? But I think that The Nice Guys plays it in and I'll probably mention this a couple times throughout the episode, but like a more Lebowski-ish way.
Yes,
right?
and I got that vibe from it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Like a lot of the foundations built for character development and future plot.
Yes.
There's so many little like things that happen in the beginning of this movie that are called back upon like later on, and
also the film takes place in 1977, so there's a lot of era specific jokes. I mean, in addition to the fashion, the music, there's definitely
that runs throughout the movie. Sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But I would say if you haven't said this was your pick. For a little like miniseries.
I have not,
and I have not seen. You've seen this movie like a number of times recently, just because it happened.
To be It's literally on every time I turn on TV these days. I don't know why.
Because you love it and it loves you.
But
I have not seen it, and so I wasn't sure what to think going in, even though you basically recommended it. But I thought it was a good setup. You introduced to both main characters pretty much, and the conspiracy, I guess we'll call it, that they're about to unfold. The case that they've taken on, or at least happened to, again, be handed. And I thought it was a really good setup, and I enjoyed it. And like you said, a lot of the stuff will come back and sort of intertwine throughout the rest of the movie. But solid one for me, I think, for the intro.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just gonna tick off a couple of things that happened in the beginning. Well, you briefly mentioned this, but there's a scene where what the hell's his name? Holland March, Ryan Gosling's character, he's trying to break into a bar to get some information that he thinks is in there. And he like wraps a towel around his hand and like goes to punch and the towel falls off, and he's like, it's almost like a Laurel and Hardy sketch or something.
Yeah.
But he like puts the towel back, and then he punches the window and pulls his arm back out, and he's completely covered in blood. And he just kind of falls off to the side, and the next scene is an ambulance picking him up. It's a good joke. I don't know why it's so damn funny, but it's so perfect.
Because it subverts expectations.
Exactly.
Like you expect him to like break in, like find the information,
like be a badass and whatever.
And I mean the fact that like he had to retie it, like
right.
He had to.
You think that's going to be the humor of the scene,
yeah,
and then
exactly.
it's like so much more than that.
Sure,
it kind of misleads you there. I'm definitely giving it a 1.
I agree, and one other thing to mention, I guess, this might also fall under style, but I think the song leading into the movie, what is it, Temptations, right?
Yeah, Papa Was a Rolling Stone.
Yeah. Awesome song leading into the movie. It gives it like
it was a good soundtrack
lends a
throughout.
perfect feel, and you get that like awesome font that they use for the title credits
the Boogie
and
Nights
everything.
spot,
especially since one of the weird, maybe this will get themes and style, but Papa Was Rolling Stone. How many people fell down hills in this movie? It starts off with the car. Gosling fell down a hill
3.
at least twice.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, so that kind of seemed to be
maybe it's a brick joke that we didn't
I think
realize.
it might be tied with the amount of people that got hit by cars.
and falling off buildings. I mean, there's this whole this whole.
Yeah, it's just like it's a slapstick wrapped up in a noir film. Which
that's a good elevator pitch, essentially. Yeah.
So I think that's ones all around, right?
I think so. Yeah.
One of the things I really liked, because one of the Amelia was an activist about all the smog in LA in the 70s and so forth. Yeah. And at the 70s, they had like the gas lines because there's the gas shortage. And it was so funny because like I was a kid then, and I actually remember being in lines for gas and seeing people get out of cars and have fights and have fist fights like they're having in the movie.
Sure.
I'm like,
awesome.
really historically accurate. But again, I think that's
resident expert.
Yeah. Well, you got the old man.
In this movie, they find the comedy and all that stuff. Like everybody's protesting because the birds can't breathe.
Sure.
So
don't the gas mask save you?
Yeah. Well, I was going to mention that joke later.
We're gonna let Scott go on the body here.
All right. Sure. After I guess they confront each other originally, and then once Russell Crowe's character goes back to have a chat with Gosling's character, they sort of decide to work together.
Yeah.
To figure out like why Amelia's disappeared, like what's happened to her, track her down, etc. So they team up, and that's where like, the buddy aspect to it all comes in, and they start uncovering more little clues here and there. And Holly, Gosling's daughter, also like is a very intelligent 13-year-old and trying to help him out, trying to keep her father sort of on track and help him out and them when they could. So they start like, I think the first big thing they do is go to a party. They track down like an address that's the porno guy is having. The producer of the experimental films is having a big party.
Sid Shattuck.
Yeah.
or hat rack.
Sure. as they've anyway. So they do that, and they encounter the two, like Keith David and his henchmen from the intro, and there's a fight there. That's the first time Gosling rolls down a hill and discovers a corpse that turns out to be the producer himself.
Which they dispose into a quinceanera.
Yeah, they tend to dispose of his body and dump his body into a different party, which is another slapstick joke. So all that stuff, and then at the end of the party, Commander shows up, who's the head of the Department of Justice, and she reveals that Amelia, the girl they're searching for, is her daughter. So she pays them to try to also track her down, or like now she's involved. So they're uncovering clues, they're tracking down leads, and they eventually, through a series of events, if you will, they do eventually end up finding her at a airport hotel, and they go up to figure out what's happening, and they immediately see
literally falls into their laps.
Well, first of all, they see 3 people get murdered in front of them as they walk out of the elevator, and immediately just
go back into the elevator,
hit the button to go down,
leave,
and they're escaping. Yeah, or they're just trying to leave, and Amelia drops onto their car and fires a bullet into it, and sort of passes out. So they wrap her up, they grab her, take her back to Ryan Gosling's apartment, and then a hitman shows up to finish the job, take her out, and they have a big firefight. And actually, this is kind of a funny but also dark joke that I liked. So the huge firefight happens, trees are falling down, there's bullets everywhere, and the hitman gets slightly injured, I believe, and then drives off in his car. And Amelia escapes from not escapes, but she decides to run out of the house to try to get away. She flags down the first car she sees for help, which happens to be the fucking hitman, and he just shoots her dead and drives off. Yeah. And I think that's pretty much where agreed the body concludes.
Yeah,
I think that's it.
I think it was all very good. A lot of like you said, Steve, a lot of it is dialogue. So a lot of the great stuff is just the interactions and the quips and stuff between all the characters. So I'm definitely giving it a solid 1. It is a good detective-ish noir story with all that stuff as well, sort of melded into it.
Yeah,
and I enjoyed it throughout.
There's a lot of great gallows humor because
yes.
when they were when they're in the elevator and they're coming down the elevator, it's a slow moving glass elevator, and they see somebody
a body.
The guy that just got shot got thrown through a window.
Yeah. And
and that guy that was staring at them while he was bleeding out through his neck.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, they open the elevator right into that, and then when the hitman, Matt Bomer, they'd kind of set up at the beginning this Walton's theme with John Boy.
Yeah, you're right. It's a background joke.
Yeah, and there's the hitman's got a mole here.
So that's why, of course,
the hitman goes in the house and looks for Amelia, and then grabs her.
Her friend who's over there.
Her friend throws her through a window.
Yeah, it's a very bizarre scene, but very funny as well.
I mean, how many films are brave enough, even in jest, to throw a 13-year-old girl
child through the window?
Sure.
And the way he jokes about it, as he's walking back to his car to shoot them up, it's hey, how's it going? You hear that noise? Yeah, that was me. Threw that girl through the window.
Yeah, then he pulls out
open fire on him.
He pulls out a fucking machine gun and starts. Yeah, and kicks off the firefight. So anyway, like I said, it's all entertaining throughout. It sustains itself, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was well done, and a lot of it, like I said, probably goes to both dialogue and style. But because of that, I have to give the body a very solid 1.
I pretty much agree. There's a lot to like in the body. There's a lot of good jokes, but honestly, we probably won't do it very much justice retelling it here.
No.
Because you need to watch this movie.
That's the hard thing about trying to, because usually in these films, we usually try to each part 4 or 6 sentences. It's here, it's just
a lot's happening.
Yeah,
at once.
It's so hard to do any bit of this film, real
the details are in the dialogue and what's shown on screen.
Maybe the best thing about this movie is the further you get into it, the more complicated it gets, because everything throughout it is building on what came before.
Sure.
And you start
in
noticing,
the same way.
Yeah, you start noticing things that were in the foreground and the background.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. There's a lot of stuff like that.
That were set up to be maybe throwaway gags or just a scene pan. And then one of the characters will be like, "Oh, I remember seeing that."
Yeah. Yeah, in the same way,
the
same way as the Big Lebowski.
Exactly, it somehow all adds to the greater story and case and plot at large.
Everything that came before is kind of foreshadowing something that's going to happen.
And
later.
who is the projectionalist? The kid,
Chet. Fucking Chet.
Chet.
He's part. They made a guy named Chet.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling's character is just hates him the entire movie.
Sure, but he reveals like important information. It also will come back in the conclusion.
Mhm.
But
And the funny thing is, one of the pieces of information he gives is kind of like a throwaway line because you think he just doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And at the end, it turns out,
sure,
Yeah. Yes.
yeah. So it all
Indeed.
pays off. So
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a 1.
oh yeah,
Give it a
without
1.
question, I'm giving it a 1.
all right.
1's all around. All right, that's gonna bring us to conclusion with Rich.
So our heroes are defeated after Amelia getting gunned down, but they decide to travel to Mrs. Glenn, who had hired Holland March earlier in the movie and would set him on the path to find Amelia because she was a person of interest, tracks him down and mentions a detail about what her niece Misty was wearing the night that she supposedly saw her after her death.
She actually mentions that very early in the movie.
Yeah.
She mentions it
And
early,
mentions
but this
it
is
again, yes.
this is the first time that Russell Crowe
Right.
had brought it up, that he had actually seen it,
Yeah,
and they put it together that it was wardrobe.
exactly.
So they go back to Misty's house, find out that there was a copy of the film that Amelia was trying to hide, and so they decide to go to the LA car show to find that film where fucking Chet is the projectionalist
Fucking Chet.
putting the whole thing together.
Chet, so this is what Holly has to look forward to, the Chets of the world.
Yes. Well, again, that's dialogue, but yes.
So they show up, try to find Chet, run into Keith David instead, and John Boy, and like a huge fight breaks out.
An even bigger fight.
An even
happens.
bigger fight happens.
Yeah.
Started off with a grenade.
Yes.
That's
while
right.
while the movie plays in the background, it ends up getting taken and then put back into its case, where Holly is able to throw it out the window, and it just involves this huge chase scene where everybody's getting hit by cars.
Yeah,
and,
it's almost like a Benny Hill
Yeah.
scene, kind of.
and
By the way, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have completely forgotten about one of the characters who plays a very important part of this movie. What's her name?
Tally.
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 That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Kim Basinger's assistant.
Yeah, that's right. She's also in on it, and she set
Yeah.
them up earlier as well.
She's in on it and like gets taken out and like the weirdest. First she slips on coffee, and then she knocks herself out trying to die for the film.
Yeah, it's like a double, like, subvert. Like,
Yeah.
well, the reason she slips on coffee is because Holly's plan is to save her father. Like, Talia has them at gunpoint, and she pretends to be room service, comes in, throws coffee on her, but it's cold coffee, so nothing happens. But then,
So that almost works, sweetie.
yeah,
and then
the
she
second
slips
later,
on it.
she slips on it. Yeah, so
So
it's a very good
It worked
joke.
out perfectly, sweetie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all that happens as well.
Yeah. So this fight happens. Keith David falls off a building. John Boy is beaten to almost death by Russell Crowe, who stops only because Holly tells him that she'll never forgive him
Yeah.
if he kills him in cold blood. And they recover the tape, or they recover the
The film.
film. Thank you. Trying to figure out what they called it back in the day.
What was that?
Yeah, what was that? They recover the film, only to find out that nothing they did mattered because everybody gets away with it, and somebody else gets put in the place of Amelia's mother.
She didn't even get. She didn't
even get arrested.
Yeah.
She just like kind of stepped down from her job, and they meet up for drinks at around Christmas time and decide to become full-time partners.
At least you're drinking again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They both are drinking, and they decide to become the nice guys detective
Yeah.
agency, essentially.
Russell
And,
Crowe has not taken a drink this entire movie.
Yeah.
He's
Meanwhile, every time they go to a
stone drunk at the end.
Meanwhile, every time they go to a party, like, Russell Crowe is, doing his investigating, and basically Ryan,
Gosling's getting excessively
Gosling's,
drunk.
yeah, hitting every
Yes.
drink.
Completely hammered.
Yeah.
Which pays off as well. So, like, again, this is sort of a big joke and maybe dialogue style, but Holly has sort of trying to push him to not drink so much. So, towards the end of the movie, he has been indeed trying to, but he ends up at an open bar and immediately, like,
He's like, want a drink? He's like, no. He's like, it's free, buddy. What do you want? Just turns.
Yeah. He has a great look, and then it cuts the next scene. But so, like, again, another joke that pays off, and that character aspect was contained. So it ends with them becoming very good friends, and then starting their own agency.
Vitriolic best buds.
All right, fair enough.
And that's one thing I did like, that, all of a sudden Ryan Gosling was like, turned over a new leaf. He had stopped smoking. He'd cleaned up, and
But then
he'd
he
stopped
didn't,
drinking.
which is funny.
But like,
That wasn't
you
true.
expected that, and then he comes in and orders a scotch, and it's just like,
And actually, it's almost a weird reversal because Russell Crowe is just chugging the bottle, and Gosling is still at least drinking out
But
of
he's
the
like,
glass.
but the thing is, like, he's in a better mood
Yeah,
about like he's like, whereas the line that he said in the beginning, like the sun rises and sets 2 days and everything's exactly the same.
Yeah.
He's like, but he's got high spirits.
yeah, sure. And physical spirits as well.
Despite the fact that the movie ends and everything is exactly the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's,
Right.
I took that
Yeah,
sort of
that's
as its
the-
own meta joke, kind of in a sense, but
Which I don't have too much more to say about the conclusion.
No.
I'm going to give it a 1.
me neither.
I'm
I think
giving it a 1.
the entire
Yep.
plot sustained itself, and I will give the conclusion
And-
as 1 as well.
Yeah, and then that's going to take me to themes, which one of the big ones is what we just talked about,
Yeah.
right? This idea that does anything you do really matter? It's very nihilistic film in that way. I think,
Sort of, like, yeah.
right? Like
The great machine turns on and crushes people.
But it has
Yeah.
a hope. It has a hope spot because
there is always hope, but without any actual evidence to back that hope up, right?
Yeah, kind of, yes.
it's like
It's pretty accurate.
I think what he like how he found his happiness is like it didn't matter that nothing changed, just the fact that they tried
Yeah.
and
Like, they know the truth,
Yeah.
at least.
they know the truth. Like they survived
Yep. And
against
lived.
all odds,
Exactly.
and
He found out he's immortal.
yeah, he found out he's invincible.
So he
he
thought,
cannot
He
die.
can't die. But yeah, I mean, it's
And he became closer with Holly. They sort of healed their
Right.
bond a bit, so.
there's personal growth in this,
Yes.
if not any actual.
Societal
Yeah.
change.
And that pen message that was written on his hand was,
Oh, yeah, that was
Changed
also
for the
set up
better.
as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
which begs the question: like, has he not showered for these entire 3 days?
The movie opens. He's in a bath. I don't know
I
how
know.
it was still on his hand.
He was in. He
I guess his
ended up in
hand
a
was
pool.
outside.
He ended up
of-
in a pool a bunch of times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
at
swam
least
with
throughout the
twice.
movie.
mermaids.
Yeah, no,
So-
3 times.
I said at least twice,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
doesn't imply like he writes it on himself like every day or something. Like, I don't know.
Maybe.
You're right. It's weird to think about, but it's still kind of funny. It was a nice touch as well because what if we haven't mentioned what he has written is "You will never be happy" with a
Right.
smiley face, and then at the very end it just says "never" is washed away inexplicably. Just that word is like erased out, so it says "You will be happy," of course, and that's fine.
Which
Like,
freaks him out as much as the
yeah,
audience.
he was just confused as everyone else. Sure,
Indeed.
but it's still kind of a nice touch.
He was still riding off the shock of seeing Nixon.
Sure. Yeah, that was in there. Another joke that we'll talk about later. But,
Oh my god.
but anyway, themes.
Yeah, I mean, the themes weren't super deep, but I think that it was well enough done, and like
It's a pretty deep theme.
it is, but it didn't dwell on it. I guess. is
Well,
what
True.
I'm
that's the
True.
thing
saying,
about
you know?
I never thought about it as nihilistic because I mean, like a lot of times, like nihilism is just you're hit over the fucking head with it, and you can either do it really well, or most of the time most people who try to convey nihilism, and unless you're like somebody like Terry Gilliam, it always comes off like a 19-year-old kid moping around in his room.
Yeah.
And this one, like you said, there's an
it's almost
array
like
of hope.
lighthearted nihilism.
Well, I hate to
if you
bring it
will.
up again,
Listen.
but The Big Lebowski also had this theme of nihilism.
All right, all
where-
right.
Well, no, but they actually had a group of nihilists, and
Yeah, of
and
course.
that's exactly
I think
that was one of the brilliant things about
Right.
Lebowski.
Yeah.
I think what makes it work is that you're looking at it through the lens of 2 guys that are just doing what it takes to survive.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
they know the world is shitty, and they're just trying to make their money and live their lives. And the only reason they're seeing this case through is so. First off, Russell Crowe just doesn't want to have people come to his place anymore.
Yeah.
Trying to
And,
kill
like,
him.
Ryan Gosling's he just wants the cash.
Trying to get paid. That's true.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it does have like that aspect to it, but like again, it's sort of in a lighthearted-ish way. But I still think that is one of the themes they are indeed going for.
I like to think that Russell Crowe's out for revenge for his fish in this movie.
Little precursor to John Wick.
All right, not
Yeah.
bad, I guess.
There's a scene where this guy
Blueface man.
who's blue
Keith
face
David and his henchmen.
the blue face man.
Well, the reason he's blueface is because Russell Crowe apparently had like one of the exploding ink pad
Yeah.
things, and he did indeed warn the guy not
Of course,
to do that.
everything
Yeah.
is perfectly explained in this movie.
Yes.
It would just take us hours
Yes,
to
to
explain
all the
it
jokes. That's true. So when we mention something that seems sort of like non sequitur, trust me, it
Makes
has a
sense
point.
in context.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, I like it. It's a fairly deep theme, but it doesn't dwell on it, and it kind of lets you make up your own mind as to what, like, do you think that this is an optimistic movie? It could be seen as an optimistic movie. It could be seen as a pessimistic movie, I think.
And so the
So-
whole glass half
No.
full, half empty type
Yeah,
deal.
I was definitely going to say to me, it's more of it's like Rich said, there's like an air of hope. There's an air of like, it's not meaningless because they're, they found a niche. He's happy with his life. He and his daughter are safe. Yeah, what they didn't really make any difference. But
I was going to say, sure, but for all their hope, nothing happened.
But the thing is, they, like you said, they tried.
Hey, this could be the start of things going well because they got the two of them together.
Yeah, well, except for exactly what happens with the auto industry because it's not 1977 anymore.
I guess, but
there's a line in this movie where Ryan Gosling says, in
5
years tops, we're all going to be driving electric cars from Japan.
Nah.
And clearly, despite the fact that could have been the case, it certainly was not.
All right. See, now this one is difficult for me because I don't disagree with all the stuff we just said, but I just don't know if it's as strong. Like, I may end up giving this movie a 10 as we were discussing quickly precast, but I was looking for, like, if I was going to take away points, which question, like, could I do that on? And might be this one. I don't think it's weak in any sense. Like, certainly it has a theme, that one, and, like, maybe a couple others, like, sub ones as well. I just don't know if, to me, it came off as strong.
Indeed. It does
while I was watching it.
It does also discuss pollution problem in LA around that time.
But that's a backdrop. That's really,
That wasn't the message of the film, I would say, really, but
it is brought up quite a bit throughout. It's brought up
twice.
Was the reasoning for Amelia to go after.
Yeah, it was her motivation, sure, but like the movie,
but it's brought up before.
It was kind of like the thematic MacGuffin.
Twice.
It is
very well said. That's why I do like that, but I'm kind of wavering. Like, I don't know. Does anyone have any like other things to add?
I don't know, because when we were outside before this, I was thinking that if I was going to knock one thing off, it would have been for themes, and I'm still trying to decide if any of these count as themes or if they're just part of the texture. I'm trying to.
Like, I get what you're saying as well because I'm kind of in that same boat.
Any of what? What we've been talking
like
about?
like the whole, even though you may not be able to change the world, you can, you can change. You can.
Like, that's the main.
Well, I
theme.
think that's the main theme.
Yes, it is. But
right?
it's sort of only like not only, but
I don't know. I'm kind of like thinking it might be really integrated into the story as opposed to an overall theme.
Kind of. Like, I see what you mean because I'm somewhat in the same vein. I just don't know, like, if it's enough for me to give it a 1, even though I thought it was decently well addressed overall. At least that one, aspect of it.
All
so
right.
I might give it a soft 0, just because I feel like my gut reaction upon watching the film was that really the theme or themes was not like the major intent or aspect of the film. The story, you know what I mean? It was sort of,
I don't know.
sort of like underneath that.
I don't know if I agree with that, but
you could convince me to give it a 1. That's where I am now.
I don't have too much more to convince you with. It's just that I think that that was a big part of what the screenwriter had in mind as he or she was writing this. I don't know who wrote it, but I think that that's an important part of the underlying current of this entire movie is exploring that between both amongst both Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe's characters and how they kind of sine waved together and then
I could get it, but again, you make a good argument. I can't really I don't have anything to say against it. It's just my gut reaction was that it just wasn't as prevalent upon watching, so I just might give it a soft-ish 0.
That's fine.
At this point.
Yeah, I'm with Scott on that.
Did it have to be prevalent, though?
It didn't have to, but you know what I mean? Like, my instinctual reaction to it was if I felt there was a strong theme, I would have brought it up.
Yeah.
Whereas if I enjoyed and I was entertained by the story and I thought it was well acted and the characters were well done, but the theme was sort of beneath that, so it wasn't a major element to me.
Mm.
I'm with Scott. I'm Scott on this one. It's going to be a soft 0, but yeah, I'm going to give it a 0.
All right.
Yeah. Again, nothing against the film, just because.
I mean, because theme. I don't know. It just seemed too connected to the story as opposed to some kind of overarching.
But I don't want to get in. This could go for hours. But,
yeah.
Yes.
Let's hit pause.
No, we're not doing that.
I'm
Rich,
giving it a 1.
What are you giving? I'm also giving it a 1.
I could have gone either way, but I said,
I like what they did with it. It could have been. They could have laid it on thicker, but I don't think they needed to, and I thought they did what they. I thought this movie did what it should have done with that. So, I get why you guys didn't want to give it a 1. That's cool.
Right. The last thing I thought, from what you just said, if they had laid it on thicker, then I would have given an active 0 because that would have been too much.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you.
So you know what I mean. So again, not like a aggressive like it sucked. Themes are terrible. Like it wasn't enough for me, even though it was like okay on the surface. I guess the best way I can say.
It's like a small target to hit.
Yeah, I know.
For
I
appeasement.
I get it, but we'll move on. I guess
we're gonna leave it at that. I think on themes and move on to antagonists with Chris.
Governmental
Detroit?
conspiracy. The auto industry.
No, it's Detroit.
Detroit, yeah.
They all got together and had a vote. Big turnout.
Definitely. The Detroit is like it is like a trickle down theory thing. Detroit, Kim Basinger. I don't know if there's one main antagonist, but if you start with Detroit, it all makes sense. It's like
a Glenn Beck board. It all connects back.
Yeah,
I get it, but like, I don't know. Go ahead, Steve-O.
I was actually thinking about possibly giving this one a 0 because, like you, I was like, I'm probably gonna give this. I might give this a 10, but I don't know if it's a 10 movie. I was trying to think of a question that I would give a 0 to, and this was about as close as I came. And then I realized that the nebulous antagonist in this is actually really effective. I think. Just the idea that you don't actually know who's pulling the strings, and even by the end of the movie, you don't really know who's pulling the strings. Like Kim Basinger is just a pawn in like
they're all middlemen, anyways. Yeah,
yeah.
The antagonist is a MacGuffin. Seriously, I mean, because you think about it, the whole thing starts off with the porn actress's death, and then all of a sudden,
poor young lady.
Poor young lady. Then everything is around Amelia, and it's just like. It's like, I don't know, she's kind of like the catalyst. As I always said, that an antagonist to me doesn't always have to, but it was always,
she's
it
like
really
a living
was.
MacGuffin for a lot of it as well. But
she was a MacGuffin. Like, that's basically most of the movies that are chasing MacGuffins.
Yeah, but I see this actually tied in. Actually, this is probably something we should have talked about in themes one question ago. It was like, there's this like superstructure of antagonists that you just don't even know anything about. There's just there's no face, no named antagonist that even by the end of the movie you don't know who the hell it is, and like it just leaves it at that. It's like there's
it's like a conglomerate.
There's always somebody above
Illuminati.
Whoever you're battling against, and it doesn't really matter what you do because you can't get to the top of that chain no matter what.
It's like a Hydra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not even. It's just that there's such a huge chain of command there in front of you that there's no chance that you on the ground level, like as a PI or whatever,
Well, she mentioned, or Kim Basinger mentioned too, like as soon as she's gone, somebody else is going to take her spot.
She did outright say that to them. That's true.
The thing, yeah.
No, you're right. So, like, I was originally sort of where you were, like, I was going to give this a 0 going into it, but I think I was wavering upon it. I wasn't strong about it, but I was going back and forth. But I think that might have convinced me that is antagonistic for sure. And certainly they, like, felt that, at least if not a tangible thing, like, the ramifications of all that. Like, it trickled down to them, as you said.
The more I think about it, the more I like that.
Plus, it was such an effective antagonist that the antagonists themselves felt antagonized by
all right, that's fucking good point. I like that.
That is a great point. No, this is... I knew right away that, even though I couldn't figure it out, that I was definitely going to give this one a 1 because however nebulous the antagonist is or how many heads or how many components it has, it was a force. It was just there. I mean, a lot of times I'll give credit to like Fate or what have you. But again, this is one of those things where if it's not done right, and this movie did it really right.
Plus, I think what makes them even more effective is that they never actually show you how they accomplish majority of the deaths that happen.
Yeah,
right. That's true.
Yeah, like the whole thing in the hotel. I mean, you don't really see who's.
It's like
even Misty Mountains. You're like, why did her car go off the road?
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Now all that is, I think it's a stronger case or a case for a stronger one for me. So I think I will end up doing that for antagonist.
Something gonna be a 1 for me. I think everybody else agrees.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to protagonists with Scott.
All right, March and God, what the hell is Russell Crowe's name?
Healy.
All right, we're March and Healy.
I would like to add Holly in there.
Well, I'm getting to that. I think she does count as well. She certainly is a big part, or at least shows up when they're on supposedly supposed to be on the job.
Plus, she gets as much of an introduction as they do.
Exactly, and provides a lot of like helpful information and moves it along, like helps their investigation. Yeah, so I think like them as the sort of buddy team when they team up at the end of the intro, and then she sort of tags along as sort of like their assistant helper, kind of, sort of like what's that Nickelodeon show, like Dr. Gadget or whatever, like
Inspector Gadget. She's the Penny.
Yeah, exactly. So like I definitely
she should play Penny if there's ever an Inspector
Sure.
Gadget.
That should be perfect.
Sure. But no, I enjoy both of them as actors. They usually do a pretty good job, and I think they were well cast in this movie. Like their characters made sense. The roles like were filled pretty well. So yeah, and while they maybe made bumbling moves, they weren't necessarily dumb moves per se. There were moves that their character would make, but they did grow and change, at least to a slight degree.
Too, and like their bumbling kind of complemented each other.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, their style, like when combined, they are actually able to accomplish things.
Yeah, they're like when they're combined, they're like half of a competent person.
Exactly.
Holly makes up the rest.
Exactly. And I think that's the best evidence for.
But that the other thing is, I didn't really see them as like bumbling, like in a Chris Farley way or as an Inspector Gadget way.
Right? No,
it's just that they were victims of their own,
vices.
Vices, fallibilities, and Holly was the one who actually had most of her stuff together. Her vulnerabilities.
She was more like mature, like complete person than they were.
But the reason is she had, her mom was dead, and she had a father who is basically drunk all the time, so she had to learn how to drive. She was his driver.
Yeah, that's true. Which is also a great running joke.
She's the wheelman.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing is, the three of them definitely make a really decent triangle.
Yeah, they had a great dynamic, so I'll give them all a lot of credit, and I'm going to give them a 1 collectively as protagonists if we agree that they all indeed are.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have too much more to add to that. I think that all three of them did a
very strong.
All the actors did a very good job, and which you would expect from Gosling and Crowe, but Holly, whatever her character, or whatever actor's name is, she did a really good job.
Hope to see her in more stuff.
As some of our viewers may know, that I am not the biggest fan of children actors in general, but when I think one is well done, I will give that child
give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, I'm right with you.
I'm going to give it to all of them, as we'll see in supporting characters.
Okay.
I'm going to give that a 1 as well, so I think that's
I think
one's
it's
all around, right? And Rich,
speaking of,
keep talking, supporting characters. Tell me all about it.
So yeah, like pretty much every supporting character in this film had a role, whether it to be a joke or to give information.
Or both.
Yeah,
at
or
times.
both.
Well, I was going to say one of the things that I was thinking about before was when Gosling was drunk and he met that one girl on the balcony, and he's like, "Oh, pretend to shoot me. I can get shot really well."
Yeah.
She keeps shooting him, and that's when
I'm an actor too.
That's when he falls off the balcony, rolls down the hill, and finds Sid's body.
Yeah.
But it was just such a great scene, and she like goes over, and she looks down at him, and she's just like, "That was a good scene." Gives him a thumbs up, just like walks away.
Wanders away.
Yeah. But like I enjoyed everybody that popped up, even the people that were just basically walking cadavers. Yeah, were there to catch bullets for some dark comedy.
The stilts guy.
Yeah, the stilts guy, the lady that was like going to her fridge during the apartment shootout.
That was awesome. She's just in the other apartment,
Yeah, there's a lot of collateral damage. For like at the expense of the victims as a joke, but we laughed at it.
They even laughed. Like I think he's just like nobody got hurt. He's like quite a lot of people got hurt.
Like no, they think they died quickly.
Got killed fast, so
I don't think they got
hurt. Yeah, you're right. They even the film did address that. They lampshaded it more or less. So I don't know, like Amelia, anything I was going to mention. Chet, I guess we'll give him we'll give him credit here.
That one kid who couldn't stop talking about his dick.
Oh yeah, the other 12-year-old jerk ass kid that they pump information that he knows about the porno experimental movies and said he'd offered to show the director.
Want to see my dick?
12 to 13.
$20. No, we don't want to.
We already
paid it.
And nobody wants to see.
What am I doing?
What am I talking about?
That's just
blue face guy. I thought did a really good job.
Yeah. Keith David, I
Blue Faceman, I call him.
Blue Faceman.
We call him. Sorry, Rich. I didn't mean to leave you out.
That's all right.
Keith David, whatever his character's name was.
Anyone else we missed?
Tally.
Yeah.
Kim Basinger.
Yeah.
Fucking Chet.
Fucking
like
Chet.
I said,
Bumbles.
Bumbles. Bumbles the bee.
And the dream sequence or whatever, yeah. Sure, I forgot about that. But no, like you said, they all did a great job. They all fleshed it out, and they all had if not an important part, some part to play in the ongoing plot and narrative.
God, even Bumbles the Bee,
Or a
as
joke.
ridiculous of a character as he was in a dream sequence, was there to wake Ryan Gosling up before he killed them in a car crash.
Exactly. So he had a part to play as well, and it was helpful.
Very clever.
So it was all very well done. I think they collectively. I don't know if I have a favorite one. I know a tradition is usually to do that.
I feel like the director did so well in making each supporting character steal their scene.
Yeah.
That it's
Like they went above and beyond what they were supposed to do.
Well, like even the extras, had their moment in the sun.
I think John Boy would fall into Proud Secondary, and I liked him as well.
He was an effective, terrifying
Good
assassin.
Yeah.
I love how
very good,
charismatic and on the ball he was.
Yeah, he was quite well done. So
He walks in and just like plays the part of a doctor.
Nurse Holly. Good. Yeah.
How's our patient doing? She's a little dizzy. She on the drugs?
Yeah.
yeah,
So
it all rounded itself out and filled out the world and the story. So
sounds like it's all ones for everybody,
Solid
right?
ones.
collective
Yeah.
one. Yep.
All right. And that's gonna be dialogue for me, with me, for me, whatever.
To you,
To me.
in you, dialogue in you. Go.
I am not good at dialogue, apparently.
Obviously,
So the dialogue in this movie, it might be the strongest part of it. It is brilliant.
it's up there.
The entire way through. It's very, very good. There's a lot of
Snappy quips and
both.
stuff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like so. There's a
And
lot
stuff.
of wittiness.
That's a joke unto itself.
and,
I
yeah.
forgot.
Don't say stuff.
Don't
Just
say
say
stuff.
snappy.
Just a lot of snappy quips. That's
just
all.
say snappy quips. A lot of wittiness. A lot of, as we've been mentioning, self-referential humor. A lot of just regular referential humor to the 70s and time frame, and
Quite a lot of black comedy.
yeah, dark comedy, really good stuff. It's all done at like breakneck speed throughout. Like not when I say breakneck speed,
It's not
I don't
rapid
mean
fire.
like I don't
Yeah.
mean like Aaron Sorkin type shit, but like
Sure.
you know, it's done at this like well kept pace.
Yes.
That it just never
Exactly.
you never get a moment to like, or you never get like too much time to like stop
to
and
catch your breath.
catch your breath and think about it. It's just kind of like, you know, they keep coming and coming. So I love the dialogue in this.
Yeah,
I did too.
I agree with you. It's all conversational. It's
Yeah.
really paced really well. It's all conversational, but it's all right on the money.
Yeah, I agree. I wasn't sure if I was going in. I was like, because like I could see other movies or other things like this failing, at least in my eyes. And this one, I think, kept it up and didn't really like lose any. Never like fell off on a plateau or anything like that. Like it, like we said, like in any situation, any character has something like snappy or funny or relevant. That's also a joke to say. So
it doesn't matter who is in this movie. A film like this could fall apart so easily.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I think they kept it up perfectly well.
And to be
throughout,
honest
so.
with you, at the beginning, I was wondering how it was going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right, Steve, that I think dialogue at the end of the day is one of the strongest parts of Nice Guys, and you have to give it credit on that.
It is, yeah. Sorry, Rich. I think you got cut off about 2 minutes ago when you were about to say something.
I don't even remember. I'm just going to give it a 1.
All right. Sounds good. No more dialogue about this. I think it's ones all around.
Yeah.
And it's going to bring us to style with Chris.
I'm gonna give it a 1. It's one of those things that's kind of hard to pin down because it's part of everything we talked about. It's part of the dialogue. It's part of the era. I said, as somebody who remembers sitting in those gas lines in the 70s, little details like that. I thought were great. And I thought they captured really continuity of the era really well. I think continuity of the characters and, little details. It's really kind of hard to pin down. I think everything was just superb.
Well, I will say that I loved the soundtrack to this.
I was waiting for you to get to that, and it was that
which I always mention. And, I don't have too much more to say about it. It's a great 70s soundtrack that is awesome. I actually would love to have this soundtrack.
Yeah, no, it's
to
well
listen
chosen,
to,
and the songs made sense. And like we said, perhaps were maybe jokes that we didn't catch unto themselves, but either way, they were good songs for the era and for the action that was happening.
Right, and I also thought that the cinematography was absolutely brilliant. This might have had one of my favorite visual scenes of the last few years in it, which is the scene where they fall off the roof And as they
Yeah.
fall,
I was gonna use that one. Go on.
that scene is fucking brilliant. As
The
they
one where-
fall, so like Ryan Gosling falls into the pool, and Keith David's character gets splattered
Yeah.
onto the
Huge
cement
blood stain
right next to
happened.
the pool.
Yeah.
Like they just fall at the
It
same
was
time.
such a great splat too.
It's
Yes.
the colors in that scene, everything is like, so there's this big
And they were
red,
practically
like-
holding. I mean, for one reason or other, they were kind of holding hands.
Well, he was pulling him off of Holly.
Yeah.
Right.
right.
That's it.
He kind of pushed Holly back onto the
Well,
roof.
because it was so funny, they connected, and he falls in the blue, and he's wearing a red suit, so it's just
Right.
like the contrasting colors, like you said, is just.
Yeah,
and
it was a
Keith
nice
David
touch.
becomes this big giant splatter of red
Stain, if
and,
you will.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling falls into the blue pool. It's just such a cool like looking scene.
A lot of the background scenes,
And there's a lot of that.
Caught me.
There's a lot of really good stuff like that.
Well, you
like
know what?
especially the intro with Misty's car rolling down the hill in
Yeah.
the background as the
Yeah.
kid's like looking at her photo.
There's a
and
lot of
True.
stuff going on in the
Yep.
background.
There's a lot
too,
of.
for
Yep.
sure.
You're right.
But I mean,
Yeah.
like color plays into it. Not thinking of that scene. I know. I don't even know if they were aware of it because with the colors,
sure they
the
were.
blue and the spattering
They
of the
were
blood.
100% aware.
But Gosling was wearing like a turquoise blue shirt with
Yeah,
a
with a
cream
white-
color jacket.
Yeah.
So
He-
even from the inception of it, he went to the blue, and it was like
You know how I know they were aware of it? They point out the color of his suit before they even go to that party. When
that's
he says,
true.
When he says like, "Oh, what is that?"
Oh, wait,
Purple?
that's right,
like
he's wearing the-
fuchsia or whatever.
That's
No,
right.
maroon.
He's wearing the
Maroon, yeah, yeah. Like the choice of colors in this movie is really brilliant, and I really respect whoever was in charge of that.
Yeah. I don't.
Whether it was a director or some other, I'm not sure exactly how it
Cinematographer.
works.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. You got anything
No.
else? No.
No.
I mean, I agree with all that. I don't have much more to add myself. That on all fronts, it was excellently done, and I enjoyed it throughout, and looked great, and soundtrack was great, and little moments, scenes like that added to it as well.
Yeah.
So I would have to give it a 1.
One.
Gonna do that as well. One.
yeah,
Yep.
one.
He started out
All
saying
right.
he's giving it
Oh,
a
I'm
1.
s- Oh, that's right. You said that immediately.
You listening?
That was the first thing you said. All right, so that's going to take us to recommendation with Scott.
With me. All right. Yeah. So I'll start out. Yes, you should see this movie if you haven't. It's for all the reasons we just said. It's quite excellently done, put together. It's got a lot of comedy, but also like a pretty well done detective noir plot, and for everything like the acting, as we just said, there's just a lot to like about this movie. And if you somehow missed it, or I don't know how well it did or not in the theaters, I don't remember.
No, it's kind of a sleeper. It's just kind of.
Yeah.
well,
Well-
so I remember it got some buzz before it came out, and then I don't think it did as well as it was supposed to. I don't know why. I don't know why it didn't do
Yeah.
as well as it was.
I mean,
supposed
I
to.
certainly don't remember seeing it.
Well,
or
because it was
hearing about
released in
really.
March, or it was like it was
Sure.
one of those,
Maybe.
you know.
It was almost like a limited release. It seemed like too.
Was it?
I don't know.
remember. Whatever circumstances or reasons it wasn't as big or didn't make us enough money or
I
whatever.
remember definitely wanting to see it after seeing the.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
don't
do
remember
too.
like previews or anything.
I
for
remember
it.
the preview. In the preview, the scene where he's like gun, and he throws the gun and it goes through the window. That was definitely in the preview.
All right.
That and
And
him
I'm
swimming
so
after the
happy-
mermaids.
And,
Yeah,
and,
yes,
and the
yes.
scene at actually the last scene where he shows him the picture of the
Yeah.
two of them, the ad where he
It was
goes,
like a,
"You
it was
look
like a missing
Filipino
trailer
or something like
yeah,
that.
It's like a missing trailer scene. He's like, I'm sorry. He's like, I put you in the back because I know here's how self-conscious you are about your big head.
yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
like all I'm saying is I would recommend it if you haven't heard of it or seen it. Check it out. Indeed, it's quite good, and it like ostensibly some of the choices we made for this little mini series for Comedy Month were like underappreciated, underrated movies, and I think this one probably is that, and I think more people should see it. is very well done. So
This
check out The Nice Guys.
to me, this is one of those films where the sum of the parts is as good as the whole.
I'll
I
agree
mean,
with that.
because there's so many little parts, and in a film like this, not to sound cliche, it is easy to say the sum of the parts is better than the whole thing. Everything,
I think they're equal in this.
yeah, I was
you're
gonna say
saying.
everything works.
Yeah,
and
I'll agree.
I'm definitely giving it a 1. I want to see it again. I mean, I was telling Beth, I'm like,
Put on
this
HBO sometime. It'll be on.
Yeah.
I'm sure you will. Even if it
Yeah.
Like, this is
actively looking for
this
it.
may be technically my third time seeing it,
Yeah.
but I still laugh. I still catch like I was like in the beginning. Like was it when you're first introduced to Holly when Russell Crowe's like driving past the vacant lot, and Like, I never noticed that before, and that's like the foreshadowing to that having been their house.
That comes back and
it's
pays
like
off.
you notice a lot more stuff.
Yeah, and that was a nice little texture to it too. That she would always go back to the house that burnt down, to go there and read and hang out, and she was still imagining it. You know,
as
when
if it were the house. Sure.
Yeah.
So check it out.
Yeah.
It's quite good.
Yeah.
Good to watch.
I mean, I completely
You should
agree.
enjoy it.
It's
definitely recommended it.
It's recommended. I recommended it to all of you for tonight.
Indeed.
And that's why I watched it, and
solid pick, buddy.
and I would do it again. So
what do we got? What's the breakdown?
I think that's it for everybody. Got myself and Rich giving this movie a 10, and Chris and Scott giving this movie a 9. So that's a aggregate score of a 9.5.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
I am okay with.
So you do indeed. I'm going to ask you the question you ask us. You do indeed think it's a perfect movie.
I would probably
Yes,
I would probably give this a 9 if I was just giving it an arbitrary rating. Not based on a 10-point scale or anything like that. But
I mean, it's
or not based on 10 different points of our scale.
Yes.
I'm going to say this because I heard you laughing when I said about Where's My Car, but this is one of those things that structurally, it may not be a perfect film, but structurally it is perfect. I mean, all the dots connect, everything builds on each other. There's a callback, there's a setup.
There's never a wasted bit of information.
Yeah, it's structurally, it's a perfect movie. As a whole, maybe not, but in its structure, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
I think that's going to do it for us.
Yeah.
Right? I have been joined today on Bon MOTS by Rich Perry.
Have a good night and stuff.
Don't say and stuff.
Just say have a good night.
Scott
good night.
Thurlow.
And I'm drinking again.
And Chris Morgan.
And stuff. Good night.
And I have been Steve-O. Have a good night.
See you next time.
Editing and engineering by Stephen Ramosi. Music by Christopher Morgan. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes for the shows, and on Facebook and Twitter for updates.